Hello again, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On satellite imagery, starting in the southeast coast, a lot of clouds and some moisture pushed in across areas of the Panhandle. Juneau picked up about a third of an inch, or actually 0.28 inches, during the day today in 12-hour period ending mid-afternoon. And Sitka had about 0.08 of an inch. Even some rain falling down south, where Annette picked up about 0.12 of an inch there. But you can see back out to the west, a lot of clouds, so there's a lot more rain on the way. Developing system right in here, warm front right through there, and that'll gradually increase the rain during the night tonight over the southern Panhandle, and then it looks like a good shot rolling in during the day tomorrow. Otherwise, hard to see, but an Arctic front here, colder air dropped down into the northeast interior, and some moisture with that, or the snowfall occurring off to the east in the Yukon. Clear skies all along the Arctic coast. Looks like right around maybe Wainwright, the Point Lay, a few clouds showing up, but generally good VFR up there, mostly clear skies. Winds a little on the gusty side on the east side as well as over toward the central coast, but then diminish here into the interior for the most part. Anyway, a few clouds here around Tanana, and then a band of moisture with some light precipitation across the southwest interior right through there, another trough, and then another weak one trying to extend in across Kamishak Bay. Out in the west, not a lot going on. You can see main low center back out to the west. A weak trough bringing some rain and fog and showers to Shemya today, and just clouds for Adak and Atka. Very narrow band of showers here extending from Nunivak Island down right over on Alaska, and as a result, pretty slow moving. They picked up roughly about a quarter of an inch of rain there, and possibly the same up toward Nunivak Island. But this trough in through here, generally only producing about 1 to 0.05 of an inch of precipitation, so pretty light showers in the cloud shield associated with that. Arctic front right through here did squeeze enough moisture out. Tok picked up about 1/10 of an inch of precipitation this afternoon or during the day today associated with this front, and also some moisture over at Northway. And then the showers kind of over in the northern Panhandle and then down over the southern areas. But the system back out to the west here will definitely bring more rain in tonight, especially over the southern southeast coast. Showers will linger up there in the north with no big heavy amounts. Will definitely be on the increase here over the southern areas with heaviest precipitation still off the south coast. Arctic front kind of stationary right through here. May slip south of the eastern Alaska range possibly. Could see some mixed precipitation with that in the Besna and those areas. But dry back to the north and cold once again tonight. Beaver, low temperature this morning, 3 degrees above zero. Chakyitsik at 5 above. And you may see, probably see lows like that again tonight in those areas. And Eagle, they're somewhere around 8 or 9 for the low. And again, another cold night anywhere from 0 to 10 above up over the northeast interior. Stays windy on the eastern Arctic coast, may subside on the central coast there, but still see gusts possibly over 40 miles an hour. Barter Island had gusts 51 miles per hour today, and otherwise 30 to 40 miles an hour all the way over toward Point Barrow. Got this band of moisture, holds together fairly well here, and actually slides eastward, brings a chance of some shower activity into Cook Inlet, possibly Kodiak Island. More likely, though, across northern Kuskokwim Valley, back out toward the Seward Peninsula, lifting up toward the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula across Norton Sound. Still a chance of light rain, fog, or drizzle, but very light amounts with this for the St. Lawrence Island area. Another very weak trough and some showers here could affect Kipnuk and Cape Newenham, then down to the Alaska Peninsula again. Nothing significant. A little more significant system here showing up on the chart there, which tomorrow will push northward, kind of a small system, very narrow band of gale force winds with it. Kicking off tonight around, or late tonight, early tomorrow, Atka, and then I'll be pushing over toward the eastern Aleutians. So gale warnings out tomorrow for this area of the Aleutians. Possible gusts of 50 miles an hour. A weaker low back to the west there, Shemya for rain and fog, periods of. This trough still holding together pretty much, but the Arctic front not as well defined now. The main gradient shifting off into Canada, but staying dry with mostly clear skies. Central, northeast interior, north slope may pick up a few clouds on the central Arctic coast, but no precipitation. Look for some clearing here to occur, kind of in a break there. High pressure coming through between this low pulling off toward the Panhandle. So we could see some afternoon sunshine, especially southwest Kodiak Island over toward Chignik, and actually all the Alaska Peninsula. And should be a dry day, but the increasing wind and also an increasing chance of rain for the eastern Aleutians, especially for Nikolsky. Southeast coast here, again, moderate rain moving into the southern areas, ending probably a dry day possibly for the Lynn Canal Glacier Bay area, or probably likely will be, and partly sunny, Copper River Basin into the central interior, mostly clear skies off to the northeast. And then for Monday, look for more moisture, more clouds, maybe some flurries and fog to show up along the central eastern Arctic coast. You notice winds will be lighter, less of a gradient there. Could see some snow showers down across the north slope into the Brooks Range, possibly into the northern Koyukuk Valley, but probably staying back toward the mountains. Weak trough here in the upper air could kick off a few snow showers over the rain or snow showers over the White Mountains, depending on your elevation and time of day. Otherwise, that basically high pressure over the interior here. So look for mostly sunny skies, Copper River Basin, North Gulf Coast. That moisture system weakens, pulls into British Columbia, and so afternoon, look for increasing sunshine along the outer coastline and showers ending over toward the border. Next system about to spread rain up to Kodiak Island here. Another front with windy, wet conditions, Alaska Peninsula on up, but not quite reaching St. Lawrence Island. Lows forecast for tonight around there, about lower to mid 40s here across the southwest to Savunga and Gamble, 41 for St. Paul. Mid to upper 40s over the Aleutians, and about the same for the Alaska Peninsula, a little cooler. Lower 40s for Bristol Bay. Lows tonight, again, 0 to 10 below over the eastern and northeast interior. And otherwise, the wind keeping it in the lower 20s along the Arctic coast. 40s for the Panhandle, 40s for southern Alaska. Highs tomorrow, 50 to 55, south central Alaska. Upper 50s, northeast Bristol Bay and on the lee side of the Alaska Peninsula. And upper 20s to lower 30s up on the northeast interior to mid to upper 30s along the west or the central Arctic coast, west side, even in the lower 40s, 50s for the Panhandle. And the lows for Monday morning, again, back down towards 0 in some areas with clear skies, dry conditions, anywhere from 0 to 15 or 20, more like 20 out toward the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, milder back to the west, lower to mid 40s here down the west coast and into the interior, and mid 40s Alaska Peninsula, upper 30s to mid 40s for the Panhandle, and 30 to 40 or 42 for south central Alaska, but definitely below freezing for the Copper River Basin. And out to the west, mid 40s. Afternoon highs back into the 50s over the southwest interior, mid 50s south central Alaska, upper 20s to lower 30s in the northeast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving into flying weather, IFR here along with marginal VFR right up to the Seward Peninsula, southward here in toward Kamishek Bay, just a little to the north there. Kuskokwim Valley along and looks like probably to the west of the Alaska Range mostly. Some over the Talkeetnas, otherwise Cook Inlet, part of the Susitna-Matanuska Valley VFR North Gulf Coast in the Panhandle. And we got this area IFR slipping on in to Dixon Entrance there, just catching the southern portion of Prince of Wales Island, probably Heidelberg, marginal VFR up the east side tomorrow afternoon. Marginal for, looks like 3/4 of the southeast coast, staying VFR, Lynn Canal Glacier Bay, maybe Yakutat, Prince William Sound. Kodiak becoming VFR, Alaska Peninsula, not too bad. Mostly marginal here from the Kenai Peninsula, Matanuska-Susitna Valley, Alaska Range, back to the west-northwest, now all the way up into the Noatak Valley to probably Cape Lisburne right on the edge there. And lower stuff staying off the Arctic coast. So VFR up there, southeastward into the 40-mile country and upper Tanana Valley. Out west, mostly marginal, narrow band of IFR, that storm coming up from the south. And then for Monday morning, that shifts slowly eastward there, right over the Fox Islands, up to the Pribilofs, and then some VFR right behind the front, mixing it out a little bit. Also VFR here on the north side, or the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, IFR south side, southerly flow responsible for that. And IFR here, well, pretty widespread marginal VFR, some areas of IFR over the western interior, right in through the central interior, Tanana Valley, eastward of the border, and the lower stuff here over the Alaska range of the Talkeetnas, VFR Cook Inlet, Massachusetts Valley, Prince William Sound, part of the Copper River Basin, North Gulf Coast, looking good for Monday morning. Kind of marginal, though, for the Panhandle, but that becomes VFR in the afternoon, burns right off. VFR across southern Alaska, Kodiak Island from roughly Chiniak Bay south in the marginal zone. IFR south side of the peninsula, Bering Sea, southeast Bering Sea, Bristol Bay, marginal VFR. Looks like Adak and Atka breaking out to some VFR, otherwise marginal all the way up to the Bering Strait, Seward Peninsula. Big swath IFR there over the Arctic Ocean coming down to roughly Wainwright, maybe Point Lay eastward. And moving on to passes Anatuvik and Adigan, both another VFR flying day tomorrow. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, occasionally marginal. And for Rainy, same forecast, occasional marginal VFR, just a slight risk of it being IFR at times. And for windy, though, too far north of the moisture, staying VFR there. Isabel, occasionally marginal. And from Antasta, kind of that band coming down from the north there may produce some lower flying or lower ceilings on the northern entrance. So it could be marginal at times, otherwise VFR. And Tanita, VFR, slowly becoming marginal. Looks like some moisture coming up in the afternoon. And then for Portage, marginal VFR, and Chilcoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels at the surface, that colder air with that cold upper low over the northwest Canada here in the Yukon, pulling 2,000 feet back to the west down into the, well, just about to Yakutat here at the surface, right on its heels tomorrow morning, much like today, with those temperatures dropping as low as 5 degrees. Probably again tomorrow too, but quite a gradient here across the southeast coast from 2,000 feet in the north to roughly 10,000 feet coming over northern Dixon entrance. Out to the west, 4,000 feet, central Alaska, generally all the way out across the Bering Sea. And icing, occasional moderate or considerable moderate coming up along in advance of that front and that storm system here, mostly cutting across Atka Island, maybe Adak for a short time. Otherwise, that's slowly moving northward and then gradually shifting eastward thereafter. Band right through here, south central Alaska, of isolated moderate rim icing above about 5,000 feet. Another batch there over the southwest coast, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta down to about Togiak Bay. And the southern panhandle, jet stream westerly 70 knots, upper level low over the Yukon, light wind flow over interior Alaska. Not so at 9,000 feet, big storm coming up from the south, 55 knot winds at 9,000 feet, 40 to 65 knots there for the eastern Aleutians, much lighter over the interior. Southeast maybe 20 on the panhandle, and below 5,000 feet look for moderate chop from Unmak Island all the way out to roughly Adak or so. And that may advance late tomorrow evening into the Alaska Peninsula, but not too serious. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Leatherbacks are the largest turtles on Earth, growing up to 7 feet long and weighing more than 2,000 pounds. These sea turtles are among the most highly migratory animals on Earth, some traveling up to 10,000 miles a year between their nesting and feeding grounds. Prevalent in every ocean except the Arctic and Antarctic, the species overall is declining, more so in the Pacific. In the eastern Pacific, the Mexican population was once thought to be the largest in the world and has experienced an alarming decline.
This trajectory of decline that we've seen and actually collapse. We're talking about only 20 or 30 turtles nesting every year, where thousands used to just 40 years ago. That's the kind of dramatic decline.
The western Pacific population has been declining steadily, and it's particularly critical to act now before it collapses, while there are enough turtles in nests to respond to conservation measures. But threats to all leatherbacks in the Pacific need to be addressed.
The top threats to populations are uncontrolled coastal development, all the bad stuff on the nesting beaches, egg harvest, poaching of the females, predation on the eggs by dogs and pigs. Deforestation makes the sand too warm and dry and the eggs don't hatch. Another one is incidental capture in fishing gear. During their vast migrations, they get caught in fishing gear throughout the Pacific. And finally, marine debris, which the leatherbacks mistake for their favorite food, jellyfish, and they choke on those.
Protecting leatherbacks in U.S. waters alone is not enough to ensure the continued existence of the species. The highly migratory nature of Pacific leatherbacks requires cooperation and international collaboration. NOAA is focusing on partnerships with Mexico, Central America, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and the Solomon Islands in the Pacific.
Our action plan promotes a holistic recovery strategy that addresses all the sources of mortality. So that's basically ensuring that the remaining nesting sites are protected. And the nests produce as many hatchlings as possible. And then secondly, in tandem with that, is reducing the fisheries-related mortalities. We're working with international partners to incentivize community participation on the nesting beach conservation and developing alternative livelihood programs that wean communities off leatherback resources and introduce alternative methods for food and income. Recovery is going to take a long time, on the order of 20 to 30 years at least, before we see some of these actions bear fruit. But here in the US, we can all help leatherbacks by making seafood choices, for instance, that support sustainable fishing practices. And beachgoers can certainly do their part by keeping our oceans clean of plastic debris, picking up marine litter, particularly plastic bags.
Together with our partners, we are strengthening protection and conservation efforts to ensure a future for leatherbacks, helping them to survive and once again thrive in the waters of the Pacific Ocean.
For over 40 years, NOAA scientists have been collecting data and piecing together the story of the gray whale. Each year, new discoveries are made, revealing the secrets of this ancient traveler. With the northeastern Pacific population recovered, leading scientists from the NOAA Southwest Fisheries Science Center continue their research efforts to help save the western population from extinction. The most effective way to identify individuals and count the population is to photograph them from the surface. Using the gray whale's distinctive markings and gray spots caused by parasites on their skin, scientists document these characteristics to identify individuals.
So we're able to track migratory pathways and corridors by the simple use of photo identification. There are other ways to do that as well, biopsy sampling and genetics.
And from the air.
Aerial photography is one way you can study animals based on their size and shape. So you can learn a lot about nutritive and reproductive condition of whales just by measuring their size and shape from vertical aerial photographs.
You can also put satellite transmitters on them and track them remotely. You put the transmitter on and let them go, and you watch them move across the Pacific or down to China or wherever it might be.
To further learn and discover where these great sojourners swim, the team of researchers traveled to Russia and set up camp on Sakhalin Island.
The main focus of our research while we were on Sakhalin was to collect photo identification. If it was a whale that we had not collected a genetic sample from previously, we would also attempt to collect a sample from the whales.
Whereas whales are endowed with natural insulation, their human observers must gear up to brave the cold in order to study these marine giants up close.
We're typically only able to work about 1/3 of the time that we're there, and that's mostly due to this fog that just invades the area and sits sometimes for weeks on end. So it can be very challenging to try and do field work in this site.
Recently, 2 whales from the western population surprised scientists by migrating across the Pacific to the waters of California and Mexico.
It's a really fun finding. It's added another piece to the puzzle that we didn't previously know about. And I would have to say that it's opened up more questions than we had before.
Research scientists from Japan, Russia, and the United States share images of animals they've spotted.
We take a photograph of an individual off of Sakhalin Island, and we get a phone call from Japanese scientists, and they say, hey, guess what? We've got a picture of a gray whale in Japan. We say, can you send it to us? We'd love to try and match it. They'll send us the picture, we'll compare it to our catalog, and we'll say, hey, we've got a match from Sakhalin to Japan.
Unlike many species of whales that still remain on the endangered species list, the eastern Pacific gray whale, once on the brink of extinction, now numbers about 20,000 individuals. Recovery efforts that started 40 years ago and the ongoing research and monitoring by NOAA scientists have contributed to the conservation of the gray whales. Together, with legal protection and public education, scientists are playing their part to ensure the survival of this magnificent migratory animal.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Well, this area of ice still continuing to slowly melt in warmer water that it's drifted into. The ice edge up here slowly advancing a little bit or forming new ice there. And this area may be gone possibly by Wednesday or Thursday. So moving on to coastal water forecast, small craft advisories here. Southeast 25 for most of the southeast coast and the outer coastline, 9 to 10 foot seas. Turning west at 25 in the extreme south coast, those seas up to 11 feet. Southeast 20, southern central inside waters, Lynn Canal north 15. And for Monday, north 20 for Lynn Canal, north winds 15, Stevens Passage, Clarence Strait northwest at 15. And northwest winds now 20 to 25 knots all along the coast, seas anywhere from 9 to 11 feet. Prince William Sound northeast at 10, north 10 for northern Cook Inlet. Otherwise, small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast. East northeasterlies 25, 9 to 10 foot seas. Barren Islands northeast 25, but only 15 here for southern Cook Inlet and Kamishak Bay with 3 foot seas. And the outlook for Monday, north of the Forelands, winds stay light northeast at about 10. 15 knot northerlies here, southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, west 20 for the Barren Islands, northwest 15 to 20 for the North Gulf Coast, strongest on the east side here where seas will be about 9 feet. Prince William Sound, light northwest breeze. And for the Bristol Bay forecast for tomorrow, south at 10, not too bad, and west-southwest 10 to 15 for the peninsula. Castle Cape to Sitkinak, west 15 knots, seas 10 feet. And east side of Kodiak here north at 15, seas up to 9 feet. Shelikof Strait the same, but the seas a lot lower at 3 feet. And then on Monday, those winds turn east, but stay light for Shelikof Strait, south 15 there, east side of Kodiak. Sitkinak to Castle Cape, southeast 20, and the Alaska Peninsula, southeast 30 knots, seas 11 feet. Pacific side 7 feet, Bering Sea side, east 25 for Bristol Bay. And for the Aleutians out west tomorrow, pretty light, southeast 15, but increasing to 30 knots here. Out of the north over toward Adak, and we got some good gales coming into the central Aleutians and eventually into the, well, from about, mostly strongest from about Atka over toward Nikolsky, 35 to 40 knots, seas 11 to 16 feet. Winds increasing 25 to 30 for the Fox Islands. Then on Monday, they'll have the 40-knot wind, especially for an Alaska Island with seas 10 to 17 feet. Small craft advisories here back to the west. Winds coming down 15 to 20 knots for the Adak-Atka area with 7 to 10 foot seas. And northwesterlies kicking back up to 25 knots for that far western marine zone, seas building to 8 feet. Southwest coast tomorrow, south 15 knots, 4 foot seas. Pribilof southeast 20, seas 6 feet, south 20 for St. Matthew Island. St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, southerlies at 15 knots, 2 to 5 foot seas. And then for the outlook on Monday, southeast 15 for Norton Sound, 30-knot winds, good small craft advisories, St. Lawrence Island, all the way down the southwest coast, all southeast 30 knots. Same thing for the Pribilof, southeast 30, 13-foot seas, and about the same for St. Matthew Island. Eastern Boulevard Seacoast still have gales flying tomorrow up there on the east side, like today, but south 20, lighter here on the eastern coast, and much lighter than what you saw today for the central coast down to south 10. Still carrying 7-foot seas though. Southwest 15 on the west side, and 20-knot winds from Cape Beaufort down to Wales. Outlook for Monday, southerlies at 15, Wales up to Cape Beaufort. Southwest 15 knots for the central and west side, and then west-southwest at 15. So those winds finally coming down there toward Demarcation Point, Barter Island, and those areas with seas subsiding to 3 feet. And for tonight, Arctic front right through here still could kick off a little bit of moisture of rain or snow depending on your elevation and the time it happens, but whatever does fall will be very light. And dry and cold back to the north, temperatures approaching 0 again over the Yukon Flats, and 5 for, say, Eagle. Dry down toward the North Gulf Coast. Rain on the increase here for the Panhandle. And this week's system progresses eastward. Looks kind of damp for the Kuskokwim Valley, possibly into Cook Inlet. Better chance, so looks like mostly cloudy, chance of showers or light rain for south central Alaska. Back to the northwest, dry to the north, rain, possibly moderate to maybe briefly heavy at times, central and southern Panhandle as that system moves on in, but then it's moving out of the picture, especially by afternoon on Monday. Look for increasing clearing here along the coast, showers in toward the border. Dry, mostly sunny, southern Alaska, maybe some flurries or snow showers, very light up to the north, another storm out in the Bering Sea.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.